Friends, you probably saw the terrible news where it's been confirmed that the Bibas children and mother, Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir, have been murdered by terrorists. Now, their bodies will be returned tomorrow from Gaza, and now is the time to talk about what this story of the Bibas family that captured our hearts means and what the implications are. Number one, it crystallizes who's on which side. The Jewish people and allies around the world stood for the most pure, innocent, and just absolutely innocent people in the world. A mother, her baby child who is just 9 months old, and another one that's 4 years old. That's the side we always stood on. Those who opposed us were standing on the side of the most cruel, barbaric terrorists in the world. They have no shame. They have yet to apologize, and it crystallizes who's on what side, who's on a moral side, and who's on a cruel side. Secondly, the fact that we know for a fact that Shiri and her children came into the Gaza Strip alive and were killed in cold blood is a reminder that millions of people around the world who either explicitly said it or were okay with it being said, that maligned the Jewish people, that maligned Israel and its allies, and called us baby killers, they actually were literally on the side of literal, deliberate, sadistic baby killers on a level that has not been seen since the SS Einsatzgruppen, the Nazi group that went in and just conducted mass killings in Eastern Europe. That is the side they are on. So while they were chanting, "You guys are baby killers," while they were silent when that slur was being said to us, in fact, they were siding with the actual literal baby killers, the people who leveled false and defamatory blood libels against us were actually siding with literally exactly what they were accusing us. It's not the first time in history that people malign and attack the Jews with one thing, when in fact it's more of a confession to who they are rather than an accusation about who we are. And finally, I want to say this. Abraham prayed for the wicked city of Sodom. He said to God, are there not 50 righteous people there, 30 people, 10? And there weren't. And I ask the people of Gaza, was there not one righteous person? Was there not one person in Gaza who was able to help the hostages? There wasn't one person in Gaza who was able to say this is unacceptable. There was not one person in Gaza who was able to say this is a red line, kidnapping a woman with her children. Because I didn't see it. And the people of Gaza speak. They have social media. They speak out. They're able to express their opinion. One of them, one was not able to say anything? Where were they? And so my question is, where are the people of Gaza? In Berlin, during the Holocaust, between the years 1939, 1945, there were 1,700 Jews who survived the Holocaust in Berlin, right under Hitler's nose, inside Nazi Germany, because there were people who were willing to help them. There were those who were willing to help them. And yet, you look at what was going on in Gaza. No Jew survived. When Hamas had to surround the hostages, sometimes they hid them or whatever it is, most often, it was just so the people of Gaza do not lynch them alive. And so we look at World War II, we look at every society in Europe where the most cruel and inhumane acts ever happened, and you see, what do you see? You see that there were always some, at least a tiny bit, a few people who were willing to help a Jew, help a persecuted person, a human being in need, see their pain and help them. And yet in Gaza, there is not one documented case of a Gazan civilian saying, look, I will help another human being. I will help a hostage. The people of Gaza who turn to the world day and night, opening GoFundMes and asking and saying, please have mercy for us, and maligning Israel and lying about the fact that humanitarian aid was coming in and saying it wasn't coming in. Those people had no mercy in their hearts. Not an iota of mercy, not one documented case. It doesn't mean they deserve anything bad. It doesn't mean that I wish them harm. But it does mean that the facts need to be stated. Not one of them, not one was able to help a hostage. Not one. And so it's just going forward. It's an important reminder when they will ask the world to use our tax dollars to rebuild Gaza. Just remember that not one of them helped. Doesn't mean we wish them ill. Doesn't mean we want anything not good for them. But to ask us to rebuild a society that had no mercy, not one righteous person, not one person who had mercy for the hostages, not one person who at least said, you cannot kidnap a woman with her children. That is just appalling and unforgivable. And don't ask me for my tax dollars. That's it. Don't wish you ill. Don't wish anything harmful on anybody. But just don't take my money. I'm not rebuilding your own town. Go to Iran. Go to whoever it is that you've been shilling for and let them rebuild Gaza. Lastly, how do we move on? After the Holocaust, many people thought, oh, now the Jews are going to exercise revenge. What did the Jews who survived the Holocaust do? Yes, some had feelings of revenge. There were those who had such a fantasy, a thought. But more than anything, the biggest revenge they took was to rebuild, to create new life, to build families, synagogues, day schools, to build the miracle of the state of Israel. And so you think about Shiri, you think about Kfir and Ariel, and you think about what was done to all the victims of October 7th, and many are feeling feelings of revenge or something like that. But remember, the way we do anything like that is only by rebuilding, by focusing on the future, by creating a better future, and that is going to be what will make Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir proud of us. That's the path we'll continue with all the pain, with all the indignation. That's the path that we do as Jews. The biggest revenge is to create, to build, and just not to become like our enemies, not to become similar to our enemies, but rather to build and create.